Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you guys actually my favorite raw food recipe of all time. You know, this is a recipe that I make quite often, usually at least once a week now. And especially during the pepper season when I got peppers in my garden. And even though I don't have peppers in my garden, I'm buying organic peppers or hothouse peppers to juice as many of them as I can get into me. Not only do I love the peppers because of the flavor, but also they're very high in nutrients. They are more nutrient dense than even tomatoes, so I want you guys to eat more peppers in your life, and making my raw, uncooked pepper soup is a great way to do that. What I'm going to do in this episode is actually we're going to take you back in time to the SoCal Veg Fest. Amazing event. Be sure to check my past video on it with my full review, and I'm going to go ahead and just share with you guys the demo that I did there for all the people in the audience. Since you guys weren't there and missed it, you guys will see my demo here on YouTube. Quality's kind of bad because I didn't set up my camera personally like I normally would. A videographer guy did it and it wasn't maybe the best quality, but at least I recorded the audio separate so you guys could be able to hear me. And I do want to let you guys know that it's really important for you guys to eat seasonally, right? I want you guys to have your own garden. I come out to my garden pretty much every day for dinner and I find like the best collard greens or the best greens that I have growing. I pick those. Those are what goes in my soup. You know, I'm picking, actually I got some really nice purple basil right now that goes in there. You know, I just wander in my garden, get a bowl of different greens and different vegetables and basically chop those up, and that's what ends up going into my soup. So as much as I have like a written recipe in my real life, I do not use recipes at all. I have a base recipe. I kind of know like, okay, my pepper soup is going to be mostly pepper juice with some stuff blended in, which I'll grab. Similar ingredients, but always sometimes a little bit different. And then all the fixings that actually go inside are totally up to you. It's what I get that's on sale at the organic produce store. You know, it's what's in my garden. It's what I feel like adding. It's adding different nutrients and different ingredients to give me more nutrition to make sure my plant-based vegan raw diet is replete instead of deplete. All right, so I want to encourage you guys to not, even if you like my recipe, you could follow it, but switch it up, add new things to it, do things a bit different. You know, things I like to add to my soup recipes sometimes are like capers, even artichoke hearts, even olives, you know, and chopped up avocado like you'll see. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into that video. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about juicing, and we're going to make a recipe using fresh juice that I'm making with the TriBest juicer here, the Shine juicer. And first, I want to get a sense of the audience, like how many people here are already vegan? All right, great. How many people here would consider themselves raw foodists and eat like raw foods? How many people here eat more than 50% of their diet from fruits and vegetables? All right, great. A number of you guys. So a lot of you guys might not need my talk, but nonetheless, it's important to make fruits and vegetables tasty and delicious. And I'm here today to educate people about eating more fruits and vegetables. You know, as much as I think, hey, being vegan is totally great, but being vegan or being a raw foodist, whatever kind of label you want to put on yourself, you know, it's not necessarily about the label. You know, hey, as much as some people here would think if you had cheese once a month or, you know, whatever, you're not vegan, but the rest of your diet is all plant-based, right? You know, I want you guys to do the best you can and include more of the healthiest foods on the planet, which are fruits and vegetables, and the least, you know, decrease the amount of animal products and highly processed foods, which includes other vegan foods, you know. And so being a raw foodist for me is not about eating all raw, maybe like it used to 23 years ago when I started, but what it is about, it's about eating more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, because they are simply the foods on the planet that will give us the most health. But aside from giving us the most health, they're also the easiest on the environment. I mean, literally, I grow food in my backyard in Las Vegas. I could go out to my backyard and normally I would harvest all the greens fresh for this soup I'm making for you guys today. And so we could all be empowered to grow some of our own food instead of relying on the system, you know, that in the case of animal agriculture is doing cruel and unusual, torturous things to animals, which I don't agree with, and hopefully most of you guys out here don't agree with. But what you guys don't know is that, you know, even the vegetable and agriculture, you know, industry growing plants and food for us are doing things maybe not as cruel and unusual to the animals, but doing things that are not good for the soil and not going to improve the health of the foods you guys are eating, because you're leaving it up to the industry that's not doing a good job, and you could surely do a better job yourself. So if you want to leave my talk now, that's great. The one message I want to give you guys is eat more fruits and vegetables, and juicing and some of the appliances that TriBest allows you to do that. So this is a vertical slow juicer, and the reason why I like juicing is because it allows me to massively increase the amount of fruits and vegetables that I eat on a daily basis. You know, it's pretty easy for most people to eat fresh fruits, but it's really hard for people to eat a lot of vegetables, especially the leafy green vegetables that I'll be using in my recipe today. How many people eat like a pound of leafy greens a day? Wow, a couple people. Congratulations, you guys are in the club. But so my goal every day is to eat 2 pounds of leafy greens a day, or leafy green vegetables. I don't always meet that goal, and that's all right. You know, I usually get in about 1 pound unless I'm traveling or something. I could go out to my backyard, and I love to just go out and pick whatever fresh greens I have and eat it, because number one, it's the cheapest. Number two, it's the healthiest, because when you buy greens from the store, if you guys hate greens, here's a tip. If you guys go to the store and buy kale and you eat the kale, you're like, this tastes nasty. I agree with you guys. Kale from the store tastes nasty. It's been picked and harvested like a week or two ago, put in a cold storage truck, transported to the store. It's sitting on the shelf for a couple days. It starts to turn yellow, and as time goes on, the nutrition lowers, but also it starts tasting more bad. And so I could go out to my garden and pick little baby greens and bring it right in and taste it, and it's just so sweet and delicious, especially this time of year as the weather is getting cooler. So the vegetable is super important. And here's the thing, like if you take 1 pound here, this is how I normally get my vegetables, so here's a tip. I could take 1 pound of leaves and put it through the juicer, and literally putting it through the juicer makes 1 cup or 8 ounces of juice. 8 ounces of juice is nothing. You guys probably had our Starbucks coffee this morning, that was 12 ounces or 16 ounces maybe. 8 ounces is nothing, so literally you got the nutrition for the most part of the leafy greens by just running it through the juicer, and now you're getting your greens needs met. And how many people saw Dr. Joel Fuhrman talk yesterday over there are going to listen to him today? Well, you guys should go listen to Dr. Fuhrman today. I mean, he's really high on the greens. The greens are the most healing foods on the entire planet. He's really into the cruciferous leafy green vegetables, you know, the kale, the kohlrabi greens, watercress, of course, arugula, all delicious, and they're very health promoting, you know, help to fight disease and keep you young. So that's really why I like juicing. And what I've been doing lately is I've been following the medical medium. How many people follow the medical medium or are aware of his work? A couple people. So the medical medium, and he has a lot of recommendations, and you know, I do some of the things he says, but not everything. But I think it's a great protocol for some people that may find it. But I've gotten a lot of feedback from my customers that have bought juices from me, because he recommends for breakfast just juice straight celery juice. So every day now since June, I've been juicing like celery juice. When I'm home, I usually drink about 32 ounces of celery juice. And I'm sorry, you know, like even as a raw foodist for the last 23 years, I would consume a head of celery here or there, but I would never consume this much celery. And celery is so important because it's really rich in like trace minerals, especially the sodium, you know, the electrolytes that are so good for us. In addition, you know, celery is full of water. So literally, you know, I just had a question earlier today, John, what kind of water do you drink? So my favorite kind of water is to drink water from the plants. So the plants are the filters. The plants took the water, hopefully it's rainwater coming from the sky above, into its system, vascular system, and basically filters it for you. And at the same time it filters it, it energizes it, so it's now alive. It's a living water, and it also mixes it with phytonutrients and phytochemicals, vitamins and minerals. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do first here. This is actually the celery juice I'm making for myself for tomorrow. But I want to show you guys how easy it is. So, you know, I like the vertical juicer because you could juice a wide variety of things. I sell all different kinds of juicers. And it's really important. It's like a pair of shoes. Like everybody asks, John, what juicer is the best one? Which one should I get? Well, so if you ever go to buy a pair of shoes, you know, what kind of pair of shoes you're going to buy? Well, that kind of depends on what you're going to use the shoes for. If you're going out to the beach, you're going to buy a pair of flip-flops. You know, if you're going to go to a wedding, you're going to buy a pair of high heels if you're a girl, or unless you're one of those guys. And that's cool, you know. But, you know, or if you're going to go running, you're going to buy some running shoes. So, like, I look at juicers like that. Depending on what I want to juice, I'm going to buy the certain juicer that's going to do the best at juicing that specific item or produce item. You know, and you know, of course, you guys have shoes. Many of you guys are wearing like flats or kind of all-purpose shoes that you can do a lot of things in. And you know, that's kind of the vertical juicer. The vertical juicer will pretty much kind of is a jack of all trades. It'll be good at juicing pretty much anything out there. So that's why I like it a lot. And I mean, literally, I've already pre-cut the celery, because if you put whole celery stalks into this machine, it's basically going to jam up, and it's not going to be good. And that's one of the downsides of this machine, is that you should be, you should pre-cut the celery and other leafy greens that are stringy. Things like carrots, of course, could just be put in straight. And I'll be juicing some bell peppers in a minute that you just cut up and put in whole as well, including the seeds, which is really nice. So I learned from Jay Kordich, the juice man, who recently passed away. But that's how I got into juicing myself. And he had an infomercial in the 1990s. How many people saw the Juice Man infomercial? How many people bought a juicer because of the Juice Man infomercial? Awesome. Yeah, I bought a juicer because of the Juice Man infomercial. It got me reacquainted with juicing, because as a child, my parents, they're kind of hippies a little bit. They shopped at the co-op up in the Bay Area when it was still around, before co-ops really even got popular. And they had a juicer that we used every once in a while to make carrot juice. But in the 1990s, I learned about, juicing because of the Juice Man, because I was looking for a way to build my health. What many people don't know about me is that I'm only here today because my life was saved. I was given a second chance at life. I was hospitalized, and I had spinal meningitis. So I was put in the hospital, and at that point, I thought I ate a pretty good vegetarian diet, although I still ate chicken and fish. And I read my ingredient labels, but still that diet threw me in the hospital. And the doctors told me I might not make it out alive. And this is not a fun place to be at any age. I was, quite young at that point. And after I got out of the hospital, I asked the doctor, why did I get sick in the first place? And he said, well, you have what's called complement immune deficiency, which is basically he blamed my disease on bad genes. So I got out of the hospital knowing that I need to figure out how to turn my health around, how to make my genes better. And at that time, they didn't really know things about like epigenetics, which is basically your environment affects your genes, and you can turn on and off different genes. And so luckily, I learned that basically by changing your diet and eating the healthiest foods on the planet, which is the fruits and the vegetables, your body could heal. And I've met so many people along my years of selling juicers and teaching a plant-based, fruit and vegetable dominated lifestyle that have healed themselves from all kinds of diseases. And I want to let you guys know that with every morsel and every bite of food you guys take, you guys have a choice, right? You guys have a choice to spare an animal's life, which I totally agree with and think everybody should do every mouthful and every bite. But you also have a choice for you. Aside from doing things for the animals, I want you guys to put yourselves first. It's quite sad in our society that sometimes we don't put ourselves first. But take a bite for health, right? When you have an option of eating an apple or eating a bag of potato chips, I don't have to tell you guys what's healthier. You guys know the apple's healthier, but why do people grab the potato chips, right? Potato chips will age you prematurely. They'll put wrinkles on your face, and an apple actually has anti-cancer nutrients in the apple, in the skin actually specifically. So if you really want to do it, peel all the apples and have your friends peel the apples, and you eat the skin and let them eat the inside, because you'll have more anti-cancer benefits that way. But every morsel I take in my mouth, I always strive to eat more phytonutrient-rich foods. Things that have nice colors, things that have nice pigments, and more importantly, also foods that can heal. And the foods that have low calories. So the fruits and vegetables are pretty much the lowest calorie foods on the entire planet, whereas most Americans are eating, especially fried foods that have the oil in there. Those are very high calorie. These foods, once again, they're going to prematurely age you. So, and it's not an all or nothing game. Like, I can't be like you, John, because I'm not going to eat all fruits and vegetables with some nuts and seeds here and there. But that's all right. You could make a conscious choice to like, hey, I'm going to eat 50% raw foods or 50% fruits and vegetables, and I'll give you some really easy tips to get it. If you want to eat half fruits and vegetables, like the first meal of the day, drink juice like I do. Fill yourself up on as much juice as you want. You've already got your pound of leafy greens in a day. That's going to do all the anti-cancer stuff that Dr. Furman talks about. And then, the next meal, have some fresh fruit. Nothing could really be easier. This trip, I came out to LA and I brought like 10 of these mason jars full of juices so I could drink them on my trip that I vacuum saved, that I'll show you guys how to do in just a second as I finish juicing up this celery. So as you guys can see, I juiced up the celery. This is like, 8 celery hearts in pretty much no time in the juicer. What I want to show you guys next is actually a pretty special tip, which many people don't know, is It's always best to juice every day and drink the juice right after you make it, because once you basically blow open the fibrous cell walls that's holding the nutrients, you expose those nutrients to air. And once the nutrients are exposed to the air, they start to oxidize. They start to lose nutrition, lose some of the valuable phytochemicals and phytonutrients in there, especially if you're using a high-speed juicer that you tend to lose more of the nutrients right as you're even making the juice. So what I like to do instead is I like to basically put my juice in a mason jar like this. And then normally, like in the olden days, I would basically fill it up to the brim and then put the top on. And then there'd be less airspace so that there's less air to commingle with the juice to make it go bad. Nowadays, my new technique is even better, because when I just take the lid, and this is standard mason jar, I have this food saver jar sealer, so I put that on the top, make sure it's all the way down, and then I just have a vacuum pump. I mean, the jar sealer lid's like $8, $10 on Amazon. This thing's like $4 on Amazon. Put that on, and then you're basically just gonna pump it up. So what's happening now is with this special top, it's sucking all the air out of the jar, all the extra air in the jar. So now I'm literally storing this under vacuum. So if you have a food saver, you know, that's what that machine is designed for, to store your produce and other foods up to 5 times longer. But this basically does the same thing by removing the oxygen, so now my juice is not gonna oxidize as fast. And look, I can even thump this upside down, and because it's held on with a vacuum without even the ring, it's gonna stay fresher for longer. So, you know, I have a video where I say you can store the juices up to 5 days, but I like to store it no more than 2 or 3 days at the most. So this way you could maybe juice twice a week, juice on Sundays, make enough till Wednesday, and then Wednesday night you could make enough juice to get you to the next Wednesday. So you could easily have juice. And as you guys saw it really didn't take that long to juice. So I like to juice a wide variety of different produce items. And one of my favorite juices, actually, I like to juice things like carrots and beets specifically, especially these purple carrots that I'll be juicing in a second. The purple carrots have these anthocyanins. They're the purple pigments, and they've done animal testing, which I'm not in agreement with, but they saw the benefit that purple carrots had when they fed rats they were eating junk food, and when rats were eating the junk food and fed like a soda substitute, basically sugar water, they got heart disease, they got diabetes, they had problems with their arteries and all this kind of stuff. And what happened was, when they put them on basically carrot juice and half of the junk food, they basically got better. So I'm not telling you this so that you can drink purple carrot juice and still eat junk food. I'm telling you this so you can get the benefits of purple carrot juice without the junk food. So that's how you guys could save that. And even the soup that I'll be making in just a second, you could preserve it the same way. So I bought some of the soup that I'll be sharing with you guys how I make it now the same way. So that's basically with my dinner the last 2 nights. All right, so now that we've juiced the celery, I want to show you guys the recipe that I'm going to be demonstrating today. That's basically my soup, and I like to call this the super epic pepper soup recipe. And this is a recipe that I'll go ahead and list all the ingredients that I'm using, so you guys can write that down. I'll also be putting this video up on YouTube, but this actually comes out of my recipe book, where I share what I eat on a regular basis. What happened was, for the last couple years, I've been basically making foods, and I don't ever measure anything. I just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And my partner at the time had basically written down all the recipes that I'd make, and she basically would take pictures and have me recollect about how much I used, and then she basically put it into a book. It's available at gygbook.com if you want to know how I eat. And how I eat is specifically, I eat for phytonutrients, I eat for maximizing my fruit and vegetable consumption and doing the least damage to the food before I eat it as possible. I like to process my own food and instead of let another company or somebody else do it for me, because then I know I'm going to have the best food. So this recipe stemmed around the bell pepper, and the bell pepper is a really good fruit. And the cool thing about when you're using a juicer, I just leave the white pith, which is a lot of nutrients, as well as the seeds on. So I'm just going to cut these into strips, and I'm going to go ahead and throw these through the juicer. And what's going to happen is that's going to turn this into basically a bell pepper juice. So one of the most important things that you guys may have heard or may not have heard, nutrients we need, is vitamin C. And vitamin C is why you may have nicer collagen in your skin. It's also an antioxidant, very important. But the trick about vitamin C is that it doesn't really stick around in our body unless you take a supplement called ester C, and then they have studies that show it stays in your body longer. but vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, so it goes in us, and then basically it'll run through us, we'll absorb what we need, and then the rest will come out of us. So, you know, to me, this means if I want to have high vitamin C levels, I need to be eating vitamin C on a regular basis, like all day long. So, of course, you know, in my breakfast, I might have some fruits that'll have vitamin C, and of course, the peppers have lots of vitamin C, one of the highest vitamin C fruits out there, and then that's why I'm going to be eating this for dinner, to get a nice rush of vitamin C before I go to bed in the evening, so that I have that vitamin C rushing around my blood veins, blood vessels, to, you know, help heal me and keep me young while I'm sleeping. Also, I just love the taste of peppers, and in the desert where I live in Las Vegas, it's a lot easier to grow peppers than tomatoes. So that's another reason why I like the peppers a lot. But they're a lot more nutritious than tomatoes, so I'd encourage you guys always, when you go to the store and you're thinking about buying tomatoes, hey, get some peppers instead. You know, if you're blending, you could, you know, this recipe specifically, I'm juicing peppers, and now I could just throw peppers in the blender and blend this recipe up, but then the problem with that is that the consistency is a lot more thick. And you know, I'm really about having the proper food textures. I really don't like things too thick, and you know, I'll be talking about blending in a minute once I'm over there. But yeah, there's a new blending technology that allows you to keep more nutrients in your blended mixtures. So I am removing some of the fiber, and a big misnomer out there is that, John, man, I'm a whole food, plant-based vegan, juicing's bad because I'm not eating the whole food. I mean, why don't you just eat the pepper, man, instead of just juicing it? Well, so like if I could juice like 6 peppers and have pepper juice, and I could have literally the concentrated nutrients from the pepper juice and get that in me in a more absorbable form because I've removed some of the fiber. And of course, sometimes I like to eat peppers whole. But here's the thing, even when you see the juicer running, and the juicer's running right now, and you see the juicer basically spitting out some of the fiber, it's only spitting out some of the fiber, right? It's spitting out the fiber here, and what you're seeing mostly there is you're seeing the insoluble fiber. The insoluble fiber is a type of fiber that does not dissolve in water. All the soluble fiber, or the majority of it anyways, is coming out in the juice, because soluble means dissolves in water. So we're still getting fiber even if you're juicing. And if you're drinking milk, don't complain about me that my kid has no fiber, because it has more fiber than milk, because milk has no fiber. Carrot juice actually is about approximately 50% soluble insoluble fiber ratio. So I'm still getting my fiber. That being said, I don't believe anybody should live on a juice diet. Maybe you're going to be on a juice fast for a little bit of time, but I do not recommend or encourage living only on juices. We do need our fiber. I drink juices pretty much once a day, and then the rest of the day I'm having fruits and vegetables, and I'm getting plenty of fiber in my diet. So, you know, I think the thing is, we don't want to do this like we usually get in this all or nothing mindset. Either you're all vegan or you're not vegan, or you're all raw or you're not raw, or you're all this or all that. I want to just encourage you guys to just do the best you can. It's not about being all anything. It's about, you know, increasing and improving on a daily basis. I mean, that's one of my mottos I like to live by. It's a process called CANI, C-A-N-I, constant and never-ending improvement. So I'm always trying to do what I do better. And so like the recipe today is like the culmination of what I've learned over the last literally 23 years to make something that tastes really good, but also is like super delicious and super healthy at the same time. All right, so we juiced a lot of the peppers there, but before we're done, I want to go ahead and put in some of the purple carrot. The purple carrot adds some nice pigments to the juice, but at the same time, it's also adding some of those purple anthocyanins that are so important. We're going to pour a little bit of this out here so we don't overflow. But so can you guys see this juice now? It's like nice and red, but we're just going to juice a few carrots, and we'll see what happens to the color of the juice here. Now, for those of you guys that say, John, I can't afford a juicer, man, they're like $400. You know, Tridest has come out with a low-cost vertical juicer for you guys. It actually is really good. I've tested a lot of cheap, inexpensive juicers, but the Shine juicer that I'm using today is my travel juicer, right? I wouldn't ever use this for my home juicer because it's not powerful or good enough. But for a travel juicer, or for somebody that doesn't have a lot of money, that doesn't want to, like, you know, make a lot of juice like I do, it's great. And if you guys take a look at that little sign there, there's a promotional code, so you guys can get the cheapest price I've ever seen on this, a little bit over $100, which is amazing. This guy has a 3-year warranty on it, and you know, on all my travels and juicing is provided you properly prepare your produce. It's going to be great for allowing you to increase the amount of fruits and vegetables you guys are able to get into your diets. So as you guys can see, one of the things I like about the vertical juicers, that unlike some of those old juicers, like you got to sit there and push each produce item in. I don't got time to push produce items in. I'd rather sit here and cut and just drop things in. And as I'm sitting here, I just drop it in. I mean, literally that thing is just sucking in, and it's sucking in at the rate that the juicer wants, not at the rate I think it is. So I mean, if you guys, they give you a pusher in case something gets clogged in there, but don't ever use the pusher like, oh, I got to push that in faster. Don't do it. You're asking for trouble. You're going to cause a backup and a jam. So, and then it allows me to have my hands free to not worry about that while I'm doing other things. So while that's finishing juicing, I'm going to get started actually on the soup recipe here. And how it works is, number one, I make juice. So that is my soup stock. So I mean, normally sometimes you guys might use a soup stock as water, right? You put water on the pot and you boil up some vegetables. You get all the nutrients out of the vegetables into the water. Like, why waste your time boiling water with vegetables when you can just basically get the essence of the vegetables, which is the most nutritious way to get vegetables in my opinion. And then we're going to go ahead and put it in a blender. And in this way, I'm going to go ahead and then mix in the ingredients I want in the blender to get some nice flavors, add maybe some nice textures, make it a little bit thicker, right? And so let's see, so our purple carrots have pretty much juiced there. Turn that off, and now if we shake this up a little bit, right? That's no longer red, it's kind of like more, I don't know, purplish red. We'll put that in there. And so I try to drink purple carrot juice each and every day. So, I mean, this recipe is super simple. First, we're going to juice whatever. I mean, you could. I do it with bell peppers because they're like really nutritious. If you have carrots and bell peppers are expensive, hey, you can do this with carrots. You can do this with celery juice. I've done this with lettuce juice before, so I'm really amping up the leafy greens I'm eating. You could do it with tomatoes or tomato juice. So we have the soup base, which is our nutrient-rich bell pepper juice. Then we're going to go ahead and add some ingredients. So maybe I'll read off the recipe here. So we use 4 to 6 red, yellow, or orange bell peppers, the juice of 2 purple carrots, and then we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds, which I'll go ahead and throw in here. And then we're going to go ahead and add in 1 handful of macadamia nuts, which we got about 3/4 of a cup there. That'll add some healthy fats. I always like to put flax seeds in to increase the amount of omega-3 fatty acids, which are really important in my opinion. You guys as vegetarians, vegans, or raw foodists or omnivores should be checking your omega-3 test and do an omega-3 test. I think you'll be very surprised by the results. You're more likely to be high in omega-6s based on what I've seen and based on my personal testing. So balancing out any nut that you're eating with adding some flax seeds will help create a better balance of omega-3 to 6s. So you're in my opinion, a healthier range. Next, we're going to add some Brazil nuts. I usually add 2 Brazil nuts for the selenium. I don't think they didn't include that today, so I'm not going to put that in. And then we add half an avocado for added thickness, or sometimes I will use sun-dried tomatoes. So I have some avocado, but instead of adding it into the recipe to get blended, because they did cube it so nice, we're going to actually add that into the soup as a nice texture. And then let's see, other than that, we're going to add some half a teaspoon of taco seasoning. I really want to encourage you guys to use seasonings. You can use taco seasoning. If you don't like taco seasoning, use some curry, seasoning, use some Italian seasoning. I mean, I just go down the list of all the different seasonings at the store and have like 1 jar of everything, and one night I'll use one night I'll use a different one, and then, za'atar seasoning, whatever. Oh, thank you for the Brazil nuts. So we're going to add a few Brazil nuts in there, get our daily dose of selenium. And then, let's see here. Oh, and then we got to add some nutritional yeast. So I like to get the unfortified nutritional yeast personally. The one I get is actually from Germany. It's organic. And then we're going to go ahead and add, the nutritional yeast is good. It's going to add a nice cheesy flavor and additional nutrients. And then we're going to go ahead and add like about a tablespoon of miso. So the miso will give us some nice salty flavor. In addition, it's basically it's a way to get whole food source of soy. So it's not like an isolate, which is like tofu, where they highly process it. Literally, they grind up the soybeans, they ferment them, so it's a live food product, and it'll add a nice little salty flavor. But I never like to add salt into my recipes. I'm personally drinking enough celery juice in the morning to get all the sodium I need. And then at the end, we're gonna go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of kimchi. I usually make it myself every year in the winter time from all my winter garden, and I preserve it, and pretty much I have it until the next winter. You could use any kind of sauerkraut or kimchi. And of course we got, let's see, where did I put it? Oh yeah, I like to put in 1 pepper. So we got a serrano pepper here. You could put a jalapeno, or if you like really like things spicy, you could put a boot jalapeño, one of the hottest peppers in the world. And then normally I would also put some seaweed powder in here for added trace minerals. You know, I kind of have a method to my madness. Certain ingredients are in there for certain reasons to make sure that my plant-based raw vegan diet is not deficient. I think we have some extra space in there. We're gonna go ahead and put in that extra juice. Maybe we'll put in the extra Brazil nuts. Normally I would like to add some kind of sun-dried tomatoes in this to make sure we got some extra lycopene in there, and also it's gonna help create a thicker texture to the soup. So most of the time you guys would put your stuff in the Vitamix, blast your Vitamix on. Now I have a big problem with people using a Vitamix. I mean, hey, the Vitamix is a great blender. You guys probably owned it for 50 years or something, however long they've been out. I used to have a Vitamix and I used to love it a lot. But the problem that many people don't realize is that when you're doing anything in a Vitamix or a Blendtec or any other blender for that matter, you're creating a vortex. And this is like a big tornado in Kansas that rips up houses. I mean, it literally transported Dorothy to Oz, right? Very powerful, these tornadoes. But you're literally creating a vortex or tornado inside your blender. So it's doing, you know, just like it could rip a house, you know, the vortex inside your blender is doing massive oxidative damage, because what's happening is those blades that are just cutting and hitting the food, and if I'm like hitting myself like 20,000 times a minute, I'm gonna get a big bruise, right? It's gonna be a lot damaging. But think about this, if I was in space and trying to hit myself 20,000 times a minute, what would happen? If I was in space, I'd hit myself and I'd probably fly across the room, because I basically wouldn't get hurt, because there's no, like, I don't know, there's no oxygen in space. So anyways, what I like to do now, I only like to blend if I'm not traveling, if I'm home, or even when I travel. I do what's called vacuum blending, and this is a new technology, just came out last year. Unfortunately, most people don't know about it. But what this does is, we have a little vacuum pump, and what this does, this sucks air. So watch. It's literally sucked on. That's how I get my kisses, because I'm single. But that was a joke. So anyways, now you can see that sucks air. It's sucked on my, you know, cheek. But what we're doing now is we're literally sucking all the excess oxygen, should there be excess oxygen in that carafe, in this top area. So now that when we blend, we're not basically bombarding and cutting in an oxygen-rich environment that's going to cause the browning of the apple, going to cause your smoothies to start to oxidize. It's going to cause a massive reduction of some of the antioxidant vitamins in there. So the vitamin C, the vitamin A, you know, different kind of carotenoids, polyphenols, they've tested to be 2.5 times more when you vacuum blend than when you don't. So, you know, in blueberries, you could blend a banana blueberry smoothie, and when you blend your blueberries, you've instantly lost 2.5 times of those polyphenol antioxidants. Those are some of the nutrients, in my opinion, that are responsible for the health benefits of the blueberries. So, I mean, you might as well just take, you know, half the bag and throw them out before you even eat them, because that's like losing the nutrients. It's so sad. So I will only vacuum blend, and besides from saving more of the nutrients, a few things are going to happen. Number one, your smoothies are going to taste better. They're not all aerated. They're not going to have all these air bubbles in there. It's going to taste a lot more pleasant. The flavors are going to be enhanced, because when you taste flavors, you're really tasting nutrients, and when you don't blend in a vacuum blender, you lose nutrients, so you lose flavor. In addition, if you've ever gone to make a smoothie and then you don't drink it all, and it sits around for even a couple hours, and you go back to drink it, it tastes really nasty and horrible, right? If you have a vacuum blender and you blend, even if you let it sit around for a couple hours after, it's not going to taste horrible. It's not going to go bad, because all the nutrients are still in there, protect the mixture from oxidative damage. And in addition, it stores better, right? I like that a lot. I wouldn't be saving my produce if I didn't vacuum blend. So basically, this has turned itself automatically, and I'm using the TriBest glass personal blender today with the vacuum attachment. And there's a little blue light that comes on here, and then it basically shuts off. So I like to just you know, run it a second time, just to make sure that we've got a sufficient vacuum on the chamber. So unfortunately right now the vacuum blenders are basically only like a whole self-contained unit, and you pretty much got to buy a vacuum blender to get the attachment. But how many of those people out there have Vitamixes? So good portion of you guys. Sorry I upset you earlier, but the good news is Vitamix is not coming out with a vacuum attachment that I'm aware of, but I will be selling probably within the next 30 days basically a new Carafe with a vacuum top, so you guys can start vacuum blending in your Vitamix. So that's kind of exciting. So basically once this turns off, then you're going to go ahead and you could just remove this, and then we're just going to go ahead and blend like a regular blender. And we're just going to go ahead and crank that up on high. And we're just going to go ahead and let it run a while. Like that's a nice travel blender, but it's, you know, not good for everyday like usage because the motor is just not as powerful as I would like it to be. Because what I'm really trying to do right here is really fractionate and create more surface area on the nuts and the flax seeds and get all those nutrients like commingled and mixed up. Also, when you blend up the nuts, it'll basically add some fats to your mixture, which I think are really good. You know, I like to eat whole food sources of fats. I'm not an advocate of eating oils because when you blend up the macadamia nuts, you're not only going to get some of the oil, and actually macadamia nuts are a pretty high oil nut, you're also getting some of the fiber, the phytonutrients, and all the other nutrients that come along with the nut. But also, more importantly, especially in the case of bell peppers, you're adding the fat, which is going to increase the absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins in there, which is like super important. And especially if you have like curry powder in there, right? Curry powder would be amazing, and put some pepper in there so you get some of that antioxidant benefits from the turmeric. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut that off. And if you don't have a vacuum blender, I would always encourage you guys on your regular blender to blend as minimal time as possible. Next, we're going to go ahead and basically lift this little lever on the top here, which basically let the air out, or let the vacuum in, let the air back in, because we did pull a vacuum on it. We're going to lift that off. And now this is our delicious soup base. We're just going to go ahead and pour it in this bowl here. So you have a nice, literally creamy texture, a lot thicker than it was as it came out of the juice, because now we've literally integrated our nuts into it. And I mean, so like this recipe is based on a recipe for two, because at the time I had a girlfriend, I would make it for the both of us, and then she would get half and I would get half, and we'd be pretty much good. Nowadays, since I make it single, I'm a single, and I make the whole recipe. Basically, this is like 2 meals for me. So I'll make, I'll eat half in one night, then the rest I'll put in a mason jar into the vacuum like I showed you guys earlier. All right. So the first step is make the soup. The next is the easy part. We just add the ingredients to it, right? So leafy greens, really important to eat. So we're just going to go ahead and add a bunch of leafy greens. Let me go ahead and over how much I'm adding of each item. Basically, we have 1 zucchini spiralized. We have I like to put 1 to 4 cups of chopped greens, spinach, arugula, spring mix, whatever you got. I just got to my garden, whatever's in season. So we'll go ahead and throw that in there. Well, I'll just tell you first. And then we got, I do a cup of organic corn, frozen or fresh, or frozen peas. Costco is great for that, for those frozen fruits or frozen vegetables. 1/4 cup of soaked wakame seaweed, or you could use nori sheets if you guys have those. I do a 1/4 cup of celery, 1/4 cup of chopped onions, and 2 teaspoons of chopped dill, and then we're also going to put the avocados in there. I mean, and you don't have to stick to my recipe. This is like what I have and what I like to put in. But really, I mean, the soup, I call it a soup, but really you're eating like a salad that's just drenched in dressing. You know, so it's a lot better. The dressing would normally be like a little bit more fat than this. So next we're going to go ahead and add in the corn. This is organic corn. Now that's been frozen previously, so I want to let you guys know that organic vegetables have been blanched before freezing. So technically they're not raw. If you want to be 100% pure raw, you want to buy corn when you can, fresh in the season, and then freeze it yourself. But that, I try to eat the most fruits and vegetables I can, and if my corn or my peas have been blanched before eating, I mean, I'm not really going to worry about it so much. It's not the major part of what I'm eating, actually. So we got the chopped onions there. We got some celery for a nice texture. Let's see, we got the avocado that we've cubed up nicely, so that'll give us a nice texture there. Oh, let's not forget the spiralized zucchini. So I really want to encourage you guys, right, to spiralize zucchini if you guys are still eating pasta, right? Wheat pasta. you know, you got to cook the wheat pasta, you got to buy it. It's not healthy for you guys, but if you spiralize, you guys could make zucchini strips like this that are 100% zucchini, a lot healthier than regular pasta. So maybe we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and dump that in there. And if you guys don't have a spiralizer, right, I have these guys right now, the stainless steel julienne peelers. So this you could kind of make strips. So I'm going to throw these out to you guys so some of you guys could make some of these. Who wants one? Right in the back. How far? Oh! All right, you guys can now, julienne slice your zucchinis or carrots or whatever. And actually, if you didn't get one, go over to the Try Best booth. I think they actually are giving them away today if you join their email list or something. And then we're going to go ahead and add in the dill. I need a spoon. Or yeah. So once you have it all done, I mean I forgot one important thing. So I always like to add seaweed to things because seaweeds are rich in iodine that may not be in plant-based diets. So I like to always have a mixture of different seaweeds. Today we're using nori. This nori is green. So green nori means roasted nori. So normally I would not use this at home, but the festival supplied the nori for me today. Green nori means roasted nori, and then if you find the black nori, that's maybe like the raw one, even though it has been heat processed. And if you find the purple one, that's the best because that's the truly raw one that hasn't had any kind of high heat. When I get nori like this, basically I like to just basically rip it up into little pieces and dunk it in, and just mix it up. And so like what I'm really into is like getting a lot of different nice textures in the foods that I'm eating, because raw foods tend to be like, people think, oh, raw foods, man, it's so boring, it's just eating salads. But you can see in here I have like the zucchini, which gives like a nice noodle texture. We got the nori, which adds like the seaweed, a nice minerally texture. We got the avocados that have been cubed, really soft texture. I mean, we got the celery that's going to give you a crunchy texture. Super important to me to like make things fun and exciting. So then once we do that, then we're just going to go ahead and mix this up. Normally I'd have a huge bowl to do this in so we don't have to like spill or anything. And once again, I mean, this is the recipe that I'm making today based on, the ingredients I would normally use, but every day changes depending on what's ripe or fresh or harvestable in my garden. So, the greens that I'm using will change seasonally. I could be using some moringa leaves. I could be using some Egyptian spinach leaves. I could be using some, water spinach leaves this time of year before they disappear because it's going to get too cold. And then we have a nice soup to eat. And normally I'd make this a little bit thicker, right? But that's pretty much the soup. I mean, it's just super simple, super easy. I mean, this is basically all fruits and vegetables for the most part, aside from some seasonings and a handful of nuts. So this is a really easy and easy way you guys could eat more fruits and vegetables so you guys could get the superior health. I think that's pretty much it for my demo today. All right, great. Thank you for showing up. They'll be out in a second with the samples. All right, I'm so impressed. You guys stayed to the end. Thumbs up to you guys. And hey, if you guys enjoyed this episode, want me to film future episodes that I film or that I give in real life presentations, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. That'll ensure that I get out my camera and set up and go through the extra work to make it happen so that you guys could have a recording so that, people could benefit from the work I do. I mean, I make recipes like this pretty much almost every day in my kitchen, and that's how I eat in my real life. And I'll say that, sometimes like last night or 2 nights ago, I made a pepper soup. It took me about hour to 1.5 hours to make it, so, but I made a double batch. So like I was eating that the next 2 days. So yeah, preparing your food takes time. It's one of the most important things you guys could do to invest in yourself, right? I want you guys to invest in yourself, right? When you go down and buy something at a to-go place, at Trader Joe's pre-made, or getting fast food, junk foods, you're not investing in yourself. You're investing in somebody else. Why? Because you're paying them the money to make the food for you, and they're going to make some profit off you, and they're not necessarily doing it for your benefit or your favor. Because, a lot of times when you're buying those processed foods, there's ingredients that you may not optimally like. They are adding things in that make negatively impact your health. They are not adding things in to boost your health. How many, pre-made to-go things you go have even seaweed in there to get your iodine or other trace minerals in there? How many, foods out there that you'd buy in a package has lots of vitamin C content? Probably not a lot, because once you start processing foods, the vitamin C content goes down. So I want you guys to process your own foods and take the time it takes to make your own food. I know a lot of you guys work, right? I've set up my life so that I could prepare my food because it is important to me, and even if other things around my house and in my life suffer, I know I'm always going to prepare the highest quality food for me, because that's what's really important to me. But even if you guys work, take 2 nights out of a week, if you make a soup 2 times a week, maybe on Sunday, and then you could have that for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday night, do another big batch of soup, or make salads that's already pre-made in the fridge, ready to grab and go, so you could eat that the next day or the next couple days, and vacuum save it like I show. You guys could definitely be eating healthier and on your way to better health and getting more of these valuable phytonutrients in you, right? I don't want you guys eating for calories. Carb the F up, that's old, that's like 20 years ago now, right? Or, keep it carb. Yeah, carbs are great, but not all carbs are created equal. I want you guys to eat the healthiest, most nutrient-dense, antioxidant-rich, vitamin-packed, mineral-packed, carbohydrate-rich foods on the planet, which are literally the vegetables and the fruits. So I guess with that, I want you guys to share this video. If you guys enjoy this video, share this with somebody else so that they could enhance their life by eating healthier, learn how to make some healthy plant-based recipes in the best way possible. Also, be sure to like this video if you liked it, want me to do more. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below, and if you are already subscribed, make sure you click the little bell. Sometimes a bell indicator goes off, and then you won't get notified of my new episodes. I'm coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 500 episodes on this channel at this time. Many recipes, but I like to focus on a lot of information to get you guys on the right track, so you guys could eat healthier, and why and how to specifically save money at a raw foods diet and eat the healthiest foods, and choose the best foods for you, so you guys could have the greatest health ever. I guess so. With that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.